Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Welcome to the July 7th, 2022 Police and Public Safety meeting. I'm going to begin by taking attendance. I have Councilmember Brennan here, Supervisor Puccioni, myself, Lieutenant Twitty, Town Attorney Finnan, Judge Swinton is here, Chief Lingenfelter from District 1 is here, Seth Goldstein is here, is here. And I have John Lemon. Is there anybody else I missed?
I believe Beth will be coming.
Beth will be coming? Okay. Okay. The first order of business will be to approve the minutes from the June 2nd, 2022 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Operationally, the Police Reform Implementation Task Force meeting was held on June 2nd of 2022. The next meeting is going to be for today, the 7th at 5:30. We invite everybody after this meeting to attend that as well. The Niskayuna Police Department is looking at the impact of operations due to legislative changes regarding the extreme risk protection orders. I only mentioning this because it's something I'm working on with Town Attorney Finnan and Lieutenant Twitty regarding how it's going to impact our department as we work through this process. And we may be looking to have more conversations about resources that may need to be dedicated as a part of these changes. Did you want to add anything to that, Alina? No? Okay. Fleet equipment. The new 601 has been outfitted and is in service. The 602 replacement vehicle is still in the process of being outfitted, and we're hoping that's going to begin next week. Our department has finalized the purchase quote of the body-worn camera system for implementation. Those quotes have gone over to Town Attorney Finnan to create a resolution. I can't thank Detective Kafaga and Seth Goldstein enough for their hard work on this, as well as the comptroller, Beth. We are going to need town board approval to move forward with this purchase, and we're hoping to do that at the special meeting on the 12th. NPD is receiving a donation in the amount of $2,119.98 from the Janelle Group in Schenectady to purchase 2 new bicycles for our patrol officers that are certified as bicycle officers. I spoke with the COO, I believe is his title, Jason Janelle of the Janelle Group. He had approached us about potentially making a donation for some initiatives that we had, and we talked about community policing and the fact that some of our bicycles are getting on the older side. He was so kind as to speak with his folks over there, and they want to purchase 2 new police bicycles for our agency, and I think that's an incredible thing. And I really appreciate that, and our department appreciates that, and thank you to Jason and his company for doing that for us. Building. The Sallyport drain is still plugged. This is an ongoing issue that we're working on with Charlie Bergami. Training, recruit guest is scheduled to begin in-service field training as of July 11th. And we'll graduate from the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Academy on the 4th of August. Lexi is doing very well. She's been with us the past 2 days actually for some in-service training for radar certification. And we look forward to getting her graduated and getting her trained up and getting her on the road out in the community. Officer Munger will be attending the Unmanned Aircraft Systems training at the Department of Homeland Security Emergency Services Training Academy from the 1st through the 3rd of August. This is something that we're looking at possibly countywide, potentially looking into a drone program. Officer Munger currently has, and you'd have to ask him, I don't know the specifications, but there is a license that you have to have in advance of this because it's very technical training, and he has that to be able to attend this, and he'll be representing us if we do end up creating a countywide program for that.
They do have one, actually.
What's that, Jim?
The county drone program?
Yeah, they currently do. We were talking about doing it, speaking with Chief Deputy Lou Brandt about expanding it more into the police agencies, because I know the city of Schenectady is creating their own drone program and things of that nature. So we were looking at it from a law enforcement perspective, maybe some shared services long term. So Officer Munger Clerk Serrata and Chief Koshin, as well as Councilmember Brennan today, attended the Unite Us training to push out that platform for our community members. It's going to be a great platform to engage our community members who need further services beyond what we can do internally. And I think that's going to be a great initiative.
Yeah, and it can be utilized on the spot in your cars with your laptops. So that's pretty special.
We're going to work towards deploying it more real time on the road
Yeah.
for some of our different residents or community members at large that we engage with that maybe need housing or maybe need assistance with food or things of that nature. So it's going to be pretty awesome once we get that out rolling. Sergeant Party will be instructing use of force at the Zone 5 Academy from August 3rd through August 4th, and that will be in the next Academy class. Sergeant Henry will be instructing cultural diversity / bias related incidents at the Zone 5 Academy on September 14th in the upcoming class. Officers Favada, Munger, Detective Connor, Detective Kafaga, and Detective Daly will be attending the AIR, which is the Active Attacker Integrated Response Training. That's being hosted by Chief William Felter's District 1 from July 25th through July 28th. This is the model that we're moving towards with regards to a rescue task force model in critical incidents involving law enforcement as well as emergency services. And we do joint trainings, get a certification based on that so that we're all on the same page should we ever have to encounter an incident, such as the things that unfortunately we're seeing in the world today. Chief, did you want to add anything to that at all?
No, pretty much covered it.
We can't thank you guys enough for sort of taking the lead on this. I know Captain Vanna has been instrumental in kind of getting this going as well, and some others, and we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you so much for taking that on.
Our pleasure.
Citizen correspondence, excuse me for one minute. Some ongoing. Scott and Tammy Kishbaugh had contacted us regarding weight restrictions on Vanderbilt Road. We're still working on this, sort of long-term, myself and Town Attorney Finnan, due to some signage being posted that may or may not have been adopted into town code, and we're looking at that more broadly, town-wide, to see how we can address that. Mike Casella had requested the town consider making the area between the bike path and the river at Lions Park a no parking zone. I know we spoke about this last meeting. I think this is something that in the next week or so we'll look at a little bit more critically. Town Attorney Finn and myself to try to get this potentially up for a public hearing, because that's the process, correct, to do that, if it's going to be adopted in the town code?
So this one's fairly new to me. What exactly?
The last meeting we spoke about it, there's where the train station is, to the right of the train station at Lions Park.
Where the grass is?
That's actually a boat launch. And emergency services use that, but also residents use that.
Use it as a boat launch.
Correct. And what's happening is folks are parking there and leaving their vehicles there. And so that if there was a time where we need to launch for like a water rescue, District 2 has an airboat at that location, we would not be able to do it.
Who's the owner of that property? Do we know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's going to be the first step. I don't know if that's, do you have any idea if it's Canal Corp or it's us? No. We got to look into that first to
Okay.
determine what the process will be. Laura might know the answer to that off the top of her head. We can check with her.
Sabrina Seeger had been at the last meeting. She stated she has concerns over the access and communication within town buildings and the police department for residents that are deaf, hard of hearing, blind, or speak a language other than English. We'd sort of talked through some of those things offline after the meeting. And one of the recommendations that we kind of brainstormed was the fact that UCC has the ability to attach certain pieces of information to physical addresses. So when there's a call that goes out for, let's say, 123, or let's just say 1 Niskuna Circle, for instance. There's a secondary screen, it's called a Bolo Screen, and you can put information in that would automatically populate whenever that address came up. And one of the things that we had talked about was potentially having the ability to have a form that could be filled out by town residents who had family members or themselves had particular needs that they would like to put out there and attached voluntarily to their residents. I did speak with Director Kevin Spawn of the UCC. He thought it was an outstanding idea. They are developing a form that they're hoping to have on the county website, because that's where that information would be housed, moving forward for town residents, that we could then direct them to that form to fill out to address that particular need. So it was a good outcome from a pretty quick meeting after our meeting, and we learned a lot in that instance. So hopefully that'll be rolling out here in the next month or so. Gary Koger had requested a traffic study on Pierce Road due to ongoing traffic concerns, and we were able to pull some data from that area. So Officer Munger ran the data from May 9th through May 13th. The average speed was 35 miles an hour, and the 85th percentile was consistently 40 miles an hour, and he kind of did a longer analysis as well to see what the 85th percentile was, and it was pretty regularly 40, and the average was pretty regularly 35. Because the speed is, slightly higher than we would like it to be for that roadway, and we are putting that as a point of emphasis on our traffic engagement schedule that's been disseminated to patrol, and we're going to get some more officers directed over to that area more regularly.
Sorry, I got an answer to the question already. I asked Laura, and New York State owns that.
New York State owns that.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
So we can reach out to them and express concerns, and maybe they'll work with us to see what we can do there.
Okay.
But we can't just on our own put it up without at least getting their approval.
okay. We'll have to look into it. I'm glad we talked about it. Some new citizen correspondence. Dennis Elkin had contacted us regarding concerns over speed in the area of Van Rensselaer at Webster Drive. Officer Munger was able to conduct a traffic study over in that area. Can I get to it with my fingers? So that particular study was done from May 31st through June 3rd. The average speed was 22 miles an hour, and the 85th percentile was 31 miles an hour. And that's well within what we would expect for that sort of location. I don't believe that that's an identified area to dedicate resources to, but we're going to continue those discussions with the residents over there should they have any further concerns. Caitlin Davis contacted us regarding concerns over speed in the new development of Morris Court, Riley Way, and Bergen Place. We also conducted a traffic survey over there. Officer Munger did. Apologize. So that traffic survey was conducted from June 7th to June 9th. The average speed was 23 miles an hour, and the 85th percentile was 29 miles an hour. Again, that is what we would expect in that area. It's well within acceptable limits, obviously. It's below the speed limit. So I don't believe that that's necessarily a concern. One of the things that she also had mentioned was that there was no signage as you entered the development off of Balltown into the development. And I'm going to speak with Highway Superintendent Ray Smith to see if we can put up a speed limit sign over in that area as you enter that development to address that concern. And lastly, under citizen correspondence, Mr. Lance Hunt contacted us and was requesting a stop sign on Cayuga Road at Algonquin Road. Mr. Hunt lives over in that area. It was actually a really good conversation. Apparently, he used to work for DOT and build bridges. So I got to pick his brain a little bit about different things regarding traffic. And in fact, he offered his services, and Officer Munger contacted him directly to speak with him more in depth about the things he did and kind of run some of our analysis off of him and utilize him a little bit further. But one of his main concerns was that there's more families over there. So obviously when that development was built, there probably wasn't a need for a stop sign because there was very few cars traveling that area. But there are more kids on the roadway. He's saying there are more cars in the area, and he would like to see a stop sign because it is an uncontrolled intersection. And so we're going to take a look at that a little bit more thoroughly moving forward. And maybe myself, and if I can ask Superintendent Ray Smith to go over with me to look at the intersection to see what we can do to alleviate these concerns. Did anyone else, John, did you have anything that you wanted to add under the citizen correspondence?
Hello, John Lemelin, 1106 Glen Meadow Court. Can't resist an opportunity to go to the podium. I enjoy these meetings. I know there aren't a lot of citizens that do attend or have an opportunity to attend, but I always wanted to tell you guys that these meetings I really appreciate. I appreciate how substantive they are, how well informed you are, Chief. And I also enjoy seeing citizen correspondence and citizens' concerns. So there's some trust in the system that if I bring a concern up, it's going to get tracked, it's going to be addressed, it's going to be pursued and talked about. So I appreciate that as a citizen. Thank you.
Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to speak to? No? Okay. Town events. The farmers market is beginning this weekend, and this is an excellent event for the town of Niskuna on a number of levels. Where it fits into the public safety role is that our department plans on doing our Coffee with a Cop event on July 9th, August 6th, September 3rd, and October 15th. So please, if you attend the farmers markets, or even if you don't normally or regularly attend them, please do. And if you can attend on a day that we're going to be there, I know they're having a bounce house, I think, this year, and some other things going on. It's going to be a good community event, but come see us on those dates. Engage with us. I'm going to announce later on, and maybe I can skip ahead, but there's a police exam coming up September 17th. If anybody has any questions regarding how to become a police officer, we recently put that out through the town website. Our office is open to come speak about, but if you're at the farmers market and you have any questions or you want to talk about it, we're there for that as well. So please come see us, come say hi to us, and get a free cup of coffee. Also, a thank you to Stewart's for donating the coffee for these events. More than gracious, and we really appreciate them facilitating that for us. The town clerk's office, I didn't get anything from them. Court issues, Judge? Anything for the court? We're good to go. Court? Fire department, Chief?
Only thing I have is the Hudson Mohawk Marathon. It's a little early. It's not till the 9th of October, but they did have a planning meeting over in Colony for emergency services, just to try to put together a little more formal plan, so there's a little better coordination throughout the route. It starts here, so our role in it is fairly limited because it's early on and there's not too much that usually happens, but that's one thing that we're working on at this point.
I think I spoke to Town Attorney Finnan about it, but I think we're going to have another conversation with them regarding how we're going to facilitate it, because there could be an anticipation of an increased number of homes this year based on post-COVID. And so we're going to talk with them a little bit more thoroughly, that if we're going to be the starting point, we have to kind of address what our capacity would be there. So,
Right.
So,
Yeah, it didn't knock me over the number they had. It didn't sound like it was a huge increase. It sounded smaller than what they've had in some previous years.
that's great news.
But yeah, they're definitely open to discussions about that stuff. So
I don't think we had anything for the school district because it's summertime. Personnel, our department has a candidate that we wish to move forward with to hire. We're going to need town board resolution to appoint for the next academy class, which begins on July 25th. We're hoping to get that done at the special meeting on the 12th. I am going to say his name out loud now because unfortunately the way it kind of all played out, we didn't really have the opportunity at the last agenda meeting to speak more extensively about him. But his name is Dustin Spataro. He is from Niskuna. He interviewed very well. He presents very well, and we're excited. And hopefully we get the support of the town board to hire him and get him to the academy and get him up and trained up. So under personnel also, it's a request that I have to potentially increase the hourly rate for the discovery clerk position within our current budget. For folks that don't know out there, there was a mandate, I believe it was in 2019, the rules of discovery changed, and I'm sure Alina can speak to that, and Judge Swinton can speak to that far better than I can. What it did for us was essentially it gave the need based on those changes that we needed to create positions to help facilitate it. And at that time, we created 2 part-time positions to be able to facilitate that. And unfortunately, we lost one of those folks. They found a job where they made more money. And they still come in and substitute to help out, but we're down to 1 discovery clerk. And so John Serrata, Clerk Serrata, he's doing sort of the job of 2 people in 1 position. And I had spoken with John because he and Jimmy Walsh was the former clerk, had never gotten a raise in the past 3 years. And so we kind of discussed it because we want to be able to retain folks that are really good at what they do. And John is one of those people. And just to go a little bit more in depth into what John does, it's not just, paperwork and filing. He also gives us representation from our department at our window. So when we combined with the rest of the county to create the Unified Communication Center, one of the things that we lost in that transition was having a face at the window of the police department, because face at the window historically was a dispatcher. So John facilitates that role Monday through Friday during business hours, which has been not only a help to our residents and helping them work through the process of coming to the police department, potentially in crisis, but also our police department. And just to kind of show that John compiles statistics as to the number of calls that he specifically has handled. And for the year so far, we've had 484 walk-ins, meaning people have come into our vestibule to try to make police contact during business hours is what we're accounting for. And of those 484, he was able to handle that call or that individual and assist that resident himself 322 out of the 484 times. So why is that important? That's important because, again, not only are we having a face there, but we're also keeping the resources such as police officers out. And I only mention that because I think it's important in the consideration for the town board when we talk about potentially giving an increase to that hourly rate. I don't want to speak on behalf of Jamie and Beth, but I did speak with both of them. And I think we're all in agreement that that would make sense, specifically because that part-time position doesn't have benefits. It doesn't have paid time off. So I don't know if you folks have anything you want to add to what I've said, or if
I just want to make sure that he realizes that there's a limit that he can earn in a year.
he does.
That he's doing that.
We've spoken about it. I mean, I got the exact number out of him today. And we're going to, again, this is not going to change budgetary, what the position is funded for. We're not going above what is budgeted. We're actually going to stay still, I believe it's like $5,000 less than what it's budgeted for. All it's going to do is essentially raise his rate a little bit, and we're going to work in some unpaid time off to give him a little bit more time off and flexibility. So that's what the intention of this is.
I thought it was also important that you noted that you can't just hire someone off the street to do this job, but you really need someone who knows the ins and outs of the requirements to jump in and know how to help the department.
For what John is capable of doing, it would take quite a bit of training. It's not something that in a couple months even you could take somebody who's unfamiliar with the inner workings of the police department, the inner workings of discovery. We're still, as police officers, working through the cases of discovery. And having a retired member of the police department in that capacity who understands those things is an invaluable resource. So we really appreciate John's willingness to continue in that role, because if we didn't have him, it would be a struggle. I had mentioned previously, I talked about it in conjunction with the farmers market, but just under personnel, I want to mention again, the police officer exam is being given September 17th for Schenectady County. You can go on Civil Services website. I believe it's SchenectadyCounty.com. There's a button that says exams, and click on that, and it's posted there. And if anyone has any questions or even wants to have a discussion about becoming a police officer, please reach out to us. Let us talk to you about it. I would encourage as many town residents that have any interest in public service to take this exam, get their name on the list. Even if you decide you don't want it, just go take the test, get your name on the list, jump in the pool, see if we can't convince you to come work for our town. So. Under other, we're still working on community surveys. And then the last thing I have is just talking about the resolutions. Obviously, we wouldn't put the resolution for the appointment of the police officer in July. That's a special meeting. believe we have to do a resolution for the exception of the donation. And then my only other question was regarding, would the potential pay increase, would that go to resolution? Is that the way that would have to? Okay, so we'd have to add that as well. That's all I have. Does anyone else have any other items they'd like to discuss? You're smiling. Is that good or bad? Okay, seeing as none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? And we will conclude this meeting at 4:00. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again at the August 4th meeting at 3:30 p.m.